13th Amendment to the Constitution makes it unconstitutional for someone to be held as a slave. In other words, it grants freedom to all Americans. There are exceptions, including criminals.
There's a clause, a loophole.
If you have that embedded in the structure, in this constitutional language, then it's there to be used as a tool for whichever purposes one wants to use it.
One of the things that people have to bear in mind is that when we think about slavery, it was an economic system, and the demise of slavery at the end of the Civil War left the Southern economy in tatters. And so this presented a big question. There are 4 million people who were formerly property, and they were formerly kind of the integral part of the economic production system in the South. And now those people are free. And so what do you do with these people? How do you rebuild your economy? The 13th Amendment loophole was immediately exploited.
After the Civil War, African Americans were arrested en masse. It was our nation's first prison boom.
You were basically a slave again. The 13th Amendment says that, hey, except for criminals, everybody else is free. Well, now if you're criminalized, that doesn't apply to you.
¿Qué vamos a hacer hoy?
Mira, vamos a sacar lo de mi salario.
Ok.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 290.
¿290?
Sí.
¿No hay más ahí?
¿No?
¿Y cuántas horas trabajó?
60.
60 horas
60 horas.
por $290.
Sí.
¿Es el mínimo?
No es el mínimo.
No es el mínimo.
Menos del mínimo.
A study released yesterday tells a very bleak story about the way American business routinely treats low-wage workers. Employees are regularly paid less than the minimum wage.
What you're seeing is a massive expansion at the bottom of low-paying, largely service sector jobs, and a real decimation of middle-class jobs in the aftermath of the financial crisis.
Inequality in Manhattan rivals parts of sub-Saharan Africa.
So yeah, I came 4 years ago. I'm from Colombia, and I decided to come here because I had nothing to do back in my country, and I was hired as a babysitter before I got here, and I was gonna get well paid, $400 per week, working 8 hours per day.
And then how things changed? Why things changed?
Things started changing when my visa expires, and that was after 6 months working with the family. And the boss, she discovered that my visa expires, and she was threatening me. And that was a hard decision because either I stay working with her as a slave or just going back to my country to do nothing.
And what do you mean about like working as a slave? What happened?
Oh yeah, so what happened is that when she discovered, she decided just to pay me $100 per week, working 24/7, and I was not able to use the commodities from the house, and I was just able to eat the leftovers from for the family, and that was a hard decision.
Oh, yeah. Are you planning on staying in the U.S. or you want to go back to Colombia?
Of course, I have to stay because I don't have nothing else to do back in my country, and that's the only way to help my family. Otherwise, I won't be doing anything. At least I'll be here and getting paid $150 a week.
Wow.
But if you look at them from the lens of the larger understanding about human rights, then you can understand the ways in which the discrimination happens at a structural level, how the abuse of power, regardless of who is in those positions of power, is always done and used against those who have the least amount of power. And 13th, who have the least amount of power?
Black people.
African Americans. Okay. In the hand that feeds?
Undocumented.
Be specific. Who? Undocumented Latinos, okay? So the groups themselves are linked in their ethnic identity so that then the stereotypes get used, right, as violations of human rights.